We've got a few weather systems heading our way over the next few days. We have more promise of rain than we've had recently. Now, today it's mostly cloudy, milder, the high in the upper 60s to low 70s. A slight chance that we could see a shower today. Tonight will be mostly cloudy, lows in the mid-50s. Tomorrow, rain is likely, maybe some thunderstorms, and it could come in two parts. With rain in the morning, perhaps some thunderstorms later in the afternoon and evening. Some storms could be strong, the high upper 60s to low 70s. I'm Mike Mays in the Weather Center.
Heavy load, heavy load. I got rid of my heavy load. Say it again, heavy load, y'all. Heavy load, yeah. I got rid of my heavy load. Look at that lady right there. She done got a praise step on.
Good morning and welcome to Making the Law Work for the People on WIDU 1600, sponsored by Brent Adams and Associates. My name is Diana Devine and I am a litigation attorney with Brent Adams and Associates. Mr. Adams has practiced law for over 50 years, and as a law firm we have a combined experience of nearly 200 years between attorney Chris Wenker, Amy Wabike, myself, Diana Devine, Emily Hickman, and our other partners. We have Sheila Chavis, who's a workers' compensation specialist, as well as attorney Vance Jennings, who's our Social Security disability specialist. We are a law firm that is here to help you with various legal issues you may encounter, from workers' compensation for your injuries to disability claims to various other situations. We hope you will give us a call if you need assistance. We can be reached at 910-888-8888. We say don't hesitate, call the 8th. And we handle cases all over the state of North Carolina. We have offices in Dunn, Fayetteville, Raleigh, Southern Pines, and Clinton, North Carolina. Again, our motto is don't hesitate, call the 8th. Also, by listening today, we have several books that Mr. Adams has written. Amongst them is The 10 Costly Mistakes That Can Wreck Your North Carolina Case, How to Get Top Dollar for Your Workers' Compensation Claim, and Mr. Adams' newest book, The Truth About Medical Malpractice Claims. These books are available for purchase on Amazon.com, but as a loyal listener to WIDU, you can call our office and get a free copy sent to you in the mail. So reach out to us at 910-888-8888, and we'll follow up with a free copy of Mr. Adams' books. Again, don't hesitate, call the 8th. Feel free to visit us at www.brentadams.com or on our Facebook page. Our expert team of intake specialists is happy to hear from you. So once again, our number is 910-888-8888. We make things right. All right, so I also have today one of my favorite people here at Brent Adams Associates. Her name is Kathy Baggett. Kathy, will you introduce yourself? Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I have been a paralegal since 1991. I have had various jobs in various legal issues that I have dealt with. I've only been here for about almost a year now, but it's a great place to work. And Diana, I'll just say she's one of the best attorneys in North Carolina.
Thank you. She's my direct case manager and paralegal for all my pre-litigation cases, and I absolutely adore her. She's the reason that I love pre-litigation so much now. So if you do call in and you have a personal injury and the intake team sets you up, if you are assigned to me, then you will hear from Kathy first. She will call you and get all the information, analyze your case, talk to me about it, and help manage your care and all of your concerns. And so I asked Kathy to give me some questions today that she regularly gets asked by our clients to help go over those today. So she has a list. What's the first thing you want to talk about? What's the first topic?
Well, when they first come in, they always, obviously, their vehicle has been damaged, sometimes totaled. So they're kind of at a loss what to do, and they don't understand and get frustrated with that whole process because that's something that they need immediately, but help isn't always immediate as far as rental and things of that nature. And they do get frustrated. I can understand that because especially if they only have one car, their transportation is just stopped in one day. And they're also angry because it wasn't their fault. So I understand their frustrations when I talk to them. And so the property damage issue we help with, but I'll let Diana go into more detail about how we handle the property damage issues with them.
Property damage is extremely frustrating, and there's not much value with it for the personal injury attorney to handle that for you. But also, it's like Kathy just said, you need to get it taken care of right away. What if it's your only vehicle? How are you going to get to work the next day? I mean, it's very stressful. So we always let the client specifically talk to the property damage adjuster. There are two separate adjusters. One is for property damage and one is for personal injury, right? So you're never allowed to talk to the personal injury adjuster once you've hired us. But you should talk to the property damage adjuster directly to help expedite the communications. Very rarely do I have to step in to fix anything there with the property damage. That's usually taken care of right away. But there are issues. You need to contact the defendant's insurance company right away to set up the property damage claim. We can usually help you do that if you come to us that fast. Sometimes they reach out to you directly to help take care of that. If your car is totaled and it is towed and it is sitting in someone's tow yard, it is earning a fee every single day that it's there. That is not your responsibility if this was not your fault. But they take time to do an investigation. And if they do an investigation and they deem that you were somehow contributory negligent, then they cannot pay anything. In North Carolina, we are one of 4 states that has one of the worst bars to recovery. That means you get nothing, and it's called contributory negligence. Every other state has some form of comparative negligence. But in North Carolina, even if you were slightly at fault, like 0.1% could be possibly at fault, and the jury finds that you should have done something or were possibly contributed to the crash, it is a complete and 100% bar to recovery. So the best thing to do is to protect yourself from this in North Carolina. So you need to have full coverage on your vehicle if you can afford to do so, and you also need to have medical payments coverage and UIM coverage. And we're going to go into that shortly in the next topic. But you need to protect yourself. So if the property damage isn't already taken care of, you can reach out to us. We could help expedite that for you when we're working on your personal injury claim. We don't do property damage only. There's never going to be any pain and suffering or, whatever damages are received for your car is just the value of the car. Now, if you do get an offer for your car, you can reach out to us and we can help talk to you about that to try and negotiate to get it done. Never take the first offer. I tell every single one of my clients this. You never take the first offer. You go back with what you want over top of what you want and let them meet you in the middle somewhere. Normally, what used to happen and what you can do is you can go on to the internet, because it's a wonderful thing now, and probably one of the open AIs. You put in your VIN number in certain places, or you just put in the description of your car. You can go to Edmunds.com and Blue Book, Kelly Blue Book Value, or whatever all those car appraisal sites, and you can put in all of the information for your car, and you get an estimate of the value of your car. That, what you can do is the average, the highest and the lowest, and that's usually where they come to. But you always ask for the highest. You can send them your printout and say, this is what I want for my car, period. And that's really the best way to do it, of appraisals. There are some times where I had a client who had some special, like Rogue One, Star Wars special edition paint, and it was like no way to replace it, even though because they needed permission from Hollywood, basically. And so that was a big argument. We had to go back and forth on trying to, replacement value for that one. Or, if the car is brand new and they actually fixed it, you still get depreciation value, not just fixed value, right? So, and you can demand that they put the actual value, like the same parts back on the car, and we can talk to you about all of that. It's very messy, but they also have to give you a rental vehicle of the same or similar stature. So, like, if you had a big Toyota Tahoe or Chevy Tahoe that was huge, and you have to take your kids back and forth to school, then they need to give you a vehicle of comparable comparable size for what your purposes are. And they need to do that right away. And even when they're investigating, they should be doing that for you. So it is a lot, but in order to expedite it and make it as fast and seamless as possible, you should have direct contact. It shouldn't have to go from that adjuster to me to then get in touch with you to then get back in touch with the adjuster. It should be directly the two of you to help you get your transportation needs taken care of right away.
And Diane, another issue is people get confused when they should use their own insurance company or the defendant's liability insurance.
Yeah,
yes.
That's a great topic to bring up. If you have the insurance, then you should absolutely use it. Now, you pay for that coverage. They're not going to increase your insurance because you use your own policy that you pay for. Think about it like health insurance. They can't increase your insurance, how much your premium because you use it. So think of it in that way. It's not your fault to crash. And with property damage, it's not like personal injury damage, right? So your insurance can pay you with UIM or MedPay, but that you pay separate for, which we'll talk about shortly. But with property damage, whatever your insurance company pays out, if you're more comfortable dealing with your insurance company and letting them deal with your insurance company dealing with the defendant's insurance company, you can deal with your own insurance company, your own policy where you have your own coverage, and they can take care of you and get you in a new vehicle, and you can get everything taken care of. And that's it, and you're done. You don't even have to talk to the property damage company if you have your own coverage, because what happens is on the back end that nobody sees is your insurance company will actually go after their insurance company and get the money back. And when they get the money back, they even refund you your deductible. So even if you put your deductible down and you go through your own insurance company to take care of you so you don't have to deal with them at all, they will go after and get their money back and give you your deductible back later on, right? So there's no waiting for investigating to make sure it was your fault and to see if there's any issue there. The insurance companies battle it out in the background. So I would always suggest that you use your own insurance and not even have to deal with the defendant's insurance. I hope
obviously,
that makes
you
sense.
have to have, obviously, you got to have collision on your
Yes,
policy,
you have to have
your
full
policy.
coverage collision. I know
Full coverage,
they're starting to get away from the term full coverage, from what I understand.
Okay.
Yeah, they have to have
Didn't know that.
collision and property damage.
Yes. If you don't have that, obviously you can't use your own insurance company. But a vehicle that has not been paid for will more than likely have collision on it.
Now,
And that's
that is
another
the most
thing.
expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the most expensive part of insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And I do suggest that everybody have at least $100,000 worth of bodily injury and at least $50,000, I think, is the property damage. Make sure your policy has rental coverage, a certain amount per day is usually what it is. You know, really go over your insurance policy. If you don't have an agent, you call and you don't need to have an agent. You just call whatever your insurance policy is, the 800 number, and ask to speak to an agent to talk about your policy and what else. They're always going to love to give you more coverage. And some of it is very cheap, like MedPay and UIM that we're talking about. The most expensive coverage you're going to get is what we're talking about right now, is the full collision coverage.
Another thing I would like to bring up is when I'm talking to clients, there is a very much more frustrating thing about the property damage is sometimes the car is not paid for, but they are only, as far as, the value of it. So you might owe more than what it's worth. So I would always suggest getting gap insurance.
Yeah, so this starts with the original purchase. So if you are not able to put a large down payment down, I'm talking like $10,000 or more. If you have a high-value car that depreciates fast, if you get a bad deal where you don't have great credit, so you have like 16% interest on this loan that you took, it is very important that you get gap insurance. Gap insurance is the difference. If you were driving, if you leave that lot right now, let's say you get a tax return and you get like $2,000, and then, these car dealerships love that. You go to some used car lot where the guy really you don't know what you're talking about. You get a terrible deal, right? You get 17% interest, only $2,000 down. He overcharged you for the car, right? So you're leaving that lot with owing more on the car than it's worth, right? And so then you're driving down the road, somebody hits you and hurts you and totals your car out. But you have a contract with a bank for X amount of dollars for that vehicle. But unfortunately, you owe way more than that car is worth. And this also happens if, 5 years down the road, if your bank loan, this terrible loan that you got, only pays the interest first, so you still have all this principal owed on the car, because that's a real thing that banks do to really hurt people. You have to be very savvy when you buy a car. Don't buy a car above your means until you can afford to do so, because this is a horrible situation that I found recently, a few back-to-back that hurt my heart. They owed way too much for the vehicle, and even though the defendant did, the defendant's insurance did exactly what the law says. They paid the reasonable value for that vehicle, and they owed like $14,000 on the car, and the reasonable value, though, was only $7,000. Horrible situation. So they still owe the bank $7,000. This is where you'll see people who go into dealerships and they have negative equity, like they trade in a vehicle with negative equity. So that's something that people do. So then it gets even worse. Then they buy another car, but instead of it being a $20,000 car, they have to take out a $27,000 loan because they're putting the negative equity, or they're rolling it over into another car because they can't afford it. This is a horrible situation. So now if you wreck that car, you still owe the money, or if somebody hits you and totals the car, because the law is only supposed to give you the reasonable value for the vehicle that was damaged, right? They either repair, which it would be much better if they could have repaired it, and then he would still have a car and still be making his payments on it. But unfortunately, if you don't have gap insurance, there's nothing we can do. Now, gap insurance is not always 100%. You got to make sure you get good gap insurance. One time we had a situation where we had to sue the gap insurance company because they refused to pay the difference, that the value of the car and what the bank owed, because, again, it was such a terrible loan that the person had, that it was just so much more than was expected that was owed for the car, that the gap insurance tried to say that they had a limitation on how much they could pay. And we actually had to sue the gap insurance. And this is not a profitable business for personal injury attorneys to do this. We do it as a courtesy to our clients when we have a personal injury case, right? So you have to be very careful.
Yeah, and on a side note, with the I'm sorry, Diana.
Go ahead.
With the gap insurance, you've got to make sure that you follow the date that they give you a deadline to give you that. They try to catch you even then, because they give you a deadline to give a whole list of information that they need, and they're just looking for some reason not to pay it out. So you got to be careful with whatever they send you to make sure you get those deadlines for the documents that they are requesting.
Yes. The best thing to do is to save up and get a car that is below your means, and then you can just get a new one every few years. Honestly, that was financial advice that I learned a really long time ago. If you just buy a $2,000 car every year, you're saving a lot of money.
For sure.
Yeah, you just get a new one every year.
Yeah. Well, and I know we briefly talked about med pay or medical payments and UIM coverage. If you want to go. A lot of people don't even know what medical payments are when they think I'm talking Greek when I ask them that they have medical payments, and people just do not understand what that means, and it's very helpful if they do, but if it wasn't for us telling them, they would never collect on it if they were in an accident, because they just didn't know what it was. I was just talking about calling your insurance agent and talking to them about the different coverage, so this is very important. One of the good things about North Carolina is that we have MedPay that pays us directly. So there's lots of other coverage in other states like Florida, New Jersey, where it's called PIP, personal injury payment, but it pays the medical provider directly, not you. So when you're in a crash and it's not your fault and it's not related to workers' comp, or you are in a course and scope of your employment, then the only time that you actually get any money is at settlement. And so you have to incur all of these bills, this time off, everything. If you have long-term, this is where insurance is so horribly important. So you need to call your insurance. It is super cheap. MedPay is super cheap. I think it's like $1 per thousand every 6 months. It's very, very cheap.
And so I only have 2,000. I need to up that to 10,000 is what I think everybody should have. And so not only does it pay, so if you go to the hospital and you need to get your med pay right away, right? Whatever the bill is, we will submit that bill to your insurance and get that money, and we can hold it in trust depending on your type of health insurance. If you got Medicaid, Medicare, things like that, they actually have a right to reimbursement first. But most of the time, we're able to send that bill in, and we're able to give you that $10,000 or whatever amount of your medical payments coverage is. That is something that we do not charge a fee for. It is a courtesy we do for our clients to get the med pay for you and give it to you. And that is the funds that you can make minimum payments on whatever the bills are so they don't go into collections. That is the money that you can use if you're out of work to pay your bills. It is a wonderful thing to have. The higher that you have, the better that it is. It covers you. But it's only in regards to how much your bills are. So if you have a $10,000 hospital bill, then we know we could get the med pay. But if your insurance automatically pays and there's only like a $2,000 hospital bill, we send that to the med pays and we can get that, whatever that bill was for, right? So it's only medical payments when we show that you had to pay those bills. I know, it's very frustrating, right? So you only get the money if you spend the money or you owe the money, right? So if you go to the hospital, even though you only paid your copay of $250, or if you don't have insurance and has this big bill, we can then work it out with them later. But it's confusing, but it's very valuable. This is money that you can get right now under most circumstances. And if not, this is still money that we get at the end that we can add on to your bill that no attorney's fees come out of. And this, again, you call your insurance adjuster and you talk to them, what's medical payments coverage? Tell me what it covers. How much does it cost? And add it on to your insurance, as well as UIM coverage. Now, as of July 1st, 2025, every single policy in North Carolina has automatically UIM coverage, which is underinsured coverage. There are horrible cases where somebody is devastatingly injured. Like I had a client years ago who was a passenger and her knee went through the dashboard and she had to have an $80,000 knee surgery. It was just horrific. The defendant in the case only had a $30,000 policy. Of course, they gave us the $30,000 policy, but the client did not have any UIM, underinsured coverage, right? Everyone should have at least $100,000 of UIM coverage. Again, very cheap, very cheap. It's like MedPay, it's super cheap. It's hard to get there, right? So the only time this comes into play is if you are very badly injured and the person that hit you, the at-fault person, doesn't have enough coverage. They're underinsured for the damage that you've been caused. So if you are like this woman who, she had more than just that, but just her $80,000 knee surgery, there's no pain and suffering there. She only got $30,000. So if they only have the minimum state limits now of $50,000, that still wouldn't even cover her bills, let alone her pain and suffering and her scarring and every other personal injury claim that we could put on it. That's it. There's no more money. Now, so you should have at least $100,000 of your own coverage. And now there's no more set-off after July 1st. And so in that case, if she had the UIM coverage in the new law, she would have got that $30,000, and then we would have went after her own insurance for the $100,000 in coverage. Plus, if she had any MedPay. Sometimes they still have set-off with UIM and MedPay, though. It depends. We have to read the policy. So I would really suggest, and I tell in every radio show I do, for you to speak to your agent and get as much coverage as you can possibly afford. Oh, it looks like we're going to go to a radio commercial.
Look at that lady right there. She done got a praise.
Hi, I'm Mitch Colvin, president of Colvin Funeral Home and Crematory. For over 50 years, our family has provided professional services with dignity, compassion, and respect with families during a time of need. We realize funeral services are as unique as those we're honoring. We offer a variety of affordable, quality services tailored to meet each family's needs, specializing in burial and cremation services. Proudly servicing Cumberland, Robeson, Hope, Harnett, Bladen, and surrounding counties from 2 locations, 2010 Murchison Road, Fayetteville, 1904 Elizabethtown Road, Lumberton. For more information, visit our website, www.hmcolvin.com.
Your background may not include agriculture, but 2 years at the Agricultural Institute will prepare you for a career in it. Whether you are a military veteran with an arsenal of skills, kickstarting your second career, or about to graduate high school, the Agricultural Institute at NC State University is the right place for you. Nurture your passion and find your career. Invest in your future and learn more about our program online by searching NC State Ag Institute. Deadline for fall enrollment is June 1st. 2 years, 1 degree, endless possibilities.
You are cordially invited to the Founders Day celebration of Apostle James A. McDonald, beginning April 30th through May 3rd, Thursday and Friday at 7:30 p.m. nightly, Saturday at 3:30 p.m., and Sunday at 12 noon at Deliverance and Praise Church, 2111 Seminole Drive, Fayetteville, North Carolina. The theme is, out of all the things I've been through, I still have joy. Speakers will include Apostle Bloney Acock, Bishop Jakeem Bowman, Apostle F.J. Witherspoon, and Apostle Roderick Jenner, celebrating 51 years of ministry and 30 years of pastoring. You don't want to miss this.
Hi, I'm Cherise Sample Hughes, Women in Government Board Chair. Alzheimer's disease often starts subtly with a memory slip, lost word, or forgotten appointment. For patients experiencing memory and thinking issues, there are FDA-cleared blood biomarker tests that can help detect the buildup of proteins in the brain that can lead to the symptoms of Alzheimer's disease. That's why early detection and diagnosis are so important. Sharing details about your memory and thinking issues with your doctor can help determine if testing is right for you. Find more at womeningovernment.org.
North Carolina lawmakers returned to the State General Assembly this week, still operating without a new budget. Dozens of high school students are preparing to meet with lawmakers in Raleigh on Wednesday in support of legislation aimed at reducing youth vaping and tobacco use. Finger pointing and calls for the other side to tone down the rhetoric in the wake of an attempted attack on the president and cabinet members at the White House Correspondents' Dinner on Saturday night. There's a stalemate between the U.S. and Iran, even as a ceasefire is holding in the war over Tehran's trying to control the Strait of Hormuz and unwillingness to abandon nuclear ambitions. North Carolina is getting some rainfall this week, but fire dangers remain high. North Carolina State Board of Elections has identified approximately 34,000 deceased people on the state's voter rolls. Mike Rayleigh, NCI News.
I'm Jamie Monticelli, WIDU Radio News. At about 2:45 in the morning on April 25th, Fayetteville Police Department officers went out on reports of a shooting along the 600 block of Berwick Drive that resulted in a death. The victim has been identified as 40-year-old Kenneth Gillis of Fayetteville. His next of kin has been notified. It is an active investigation. They will release additional information when it becomes available. If you know anything about the investigation, you are asked to contact Detective B. Ramirez at 910-309-6140. Time to go through your pantry, see what non-perishable food items you could donate to the less fortunate. The Letter Carrier Stamp Out Hunger Food Drive is coming up on Saturday, May 11th. They will collect non-perishable food items to benefit local food pantries. All you have to do is leave a donation of your non-perishable food in a bag near your mailbox. On the second Saturday in May, your letter carrier will do the rest. From WIDU Radio, I'm Jamie Monticelli.
As we end the month of April and start May, it looks like temperatures will average below normal, and we may be seeing above normal rain chances as well. Now, today, mostly cloudy, a slight chance for a shower, the high in the upper 60s to low 70s, a little bit milder than what we had for the day yesterday. Mostly cloudy tonight, the low in the mid-50s. Tomorrow, keep the rain gear handy. We have rain in the morning, perhaps some storms in the afternoon, and a chance they could be strong, the high in the upper 60s to low 70s. I'm Mike Mays in the Weather Center.
It's Friday Night Live in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where worship and praise and ministry will come together for an anointed time of the Lord. Friday, May 1st at 7:30 p.m. at the Gateway Center, 3860 Gateway Drive in Fayetteville, North Carolina, with special musical guests Reverend Luther Barnes and the Restoration Worship Center Choir and spoken word from Ambassador David Gilliam of Impact Nation, Petersburg, Virginia, and Houston, Texas. Come expecting to be uplifted and blessed as these men of God sing and preach about God's goodness and His healing power. That's Friday Night Live, May 1st, with Reverend Luther Barnes and the Restoration Worship Center Choir, and spoken word from Ambassador David Gilliam of Impact Nation Church, Petersburg, Virginia, and Houston, Texas. Set for worship and praise at the Gateway Center, 3860 Gateway Drive in Fayetteville, North Carolina. A free will offering will be taken. That's Friday Night Live, Fayetteville, free and open to the public. For more information, call 877-959-7418 or go to davidgilliamministriesworldwide.org.
Remember the rotary phone? Well, soon that's what people are going to ask about gas-powered cars. And every day we see videos of robots becoming more and more like us. Welcome to the future. At Fayetteville State University, we believe that anything really can happen. So wherever it is that you want to go, we've got a program for that. Visit Fayetteville State University and find out how we're preparing students just like you for what comes next. Fayetteville State University. Are you in?
Smokey the Bear. Then you know why Smokey tells you when he sees you passing through. Remember, please be careful, it's the least that you can do. What you desire, don't play with matches, don't play with fire.
After 80 years of learning his wildfire prevention tips, Smokey Bear lives within us all. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com, and remember,
only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Heavy load, I got rid of my heavy load. Said again, heavy load, y'all. Heavy load, yeah, I got rid of my heavy load. Look at that lady right there.
Again, good morning and welcome back to Making the Law Work for the People on WIDU 1600, sponsored by Brent Adams and Associates. My name is Diana Devine. I'm one of the litigation attorneys here in the Raleigh office, and I got Kathy Baggett on the line with me, one of the paralegals down in the Dunn office and the personal injury department. And we are talking today about UIM, MedPay, property damage, gap insurance. What else would we like to talk about?
Well, I think the next thing that would be most informative to tell people about is how liens in a personal injury case works as far as hospital, medical provider liens, as well as health insurance, Medicare, Medicaid liens that will be assessed on your case.
All right. So liens that's a tricky, it's a very robust topic. So let's see. Let's talk about using your health insurance. One of the things I've noticed, we do this every day, and I've been doing it for years and years. So I have to keep in mind all the time that some of my clients have never been in a crash before, have no idea what to do, and constantly keep that at the forefront of our conversations and my thought process when I discuss it with them. And Kathy does the same thing. So one of the things we get is, well, I don't want to use my health insurance. Well, as a litigation attorney, one of the things that they can argue later on is failure to mitigate damages. So there has to be a reason that you don't want to use your health insurance, like a viable reason, not that, oh, well, it's the other person's fault, why should I use my insurance? Well, because you have insurance. A lot of people don't have insurance, so this helps, because if you refuse to allow a medical provider to use your health insurance, then that's going to look as if you failed to mitigate your damages. But here's the twist to that's happening. So a lot of, specifically hospitals, are refusing to file people's insurance and instead opting to put a lien on any potential third-party settlement, which would be like a motor vehicle crash and the defendant's insurance. And they've even gone so far as to put it and sneak it into the general consent language. When you first go to a hospital and you sign to be treated, the language has actually been embedded into that general consent, which is horrible. And we're actually fighting that. The plaintiff's bar and even the defense bar doesn't like it either, because it's refusing to file your insurance when you could use it to decrease the bill to try and take the money out of any potential settlement. They have a right to do that under the statute as long as they give us the documentation we request without charging us, They get it to us within 60 days of when we request it, and they give us a valid notice of this potential lien. They have perfected the lien against your proceeds, and I cannot legally give them to you. I have to give them to the medical provider that has perfected their lien. Now, under that statute, they are not entitled to more than 50% of what the client would get. So that always turns out to be a third, because plaintiff's attorneys for personal injury across the entire United States, from what I understand, all the plaintiff's attorneys take 1/3 in the pre-lit stage. So it would be 1/3 attorney's fee, 1/3 medical providers, and 1/3 pain and suffering for the client. And then, of course, whatever costs that might have been paid have to come out of the client's portion as well. So, that's a big chunk. That's a third. That's half of what you would have gotten, because they refused to file your insurance if you had insurance. Now, if you don't have insurance, then this is a moot point. And then it would just be a third, and at least we were able to get you or help you find medical care on a lien so that you were able to get treated. But if you have health insurance, and some insurance has an automatic right to reimbursement, right? So that's not what I'm talking about here. So if it was North Carolina State Health Plan, even though the hospital still has the right to not file Medicare, Medicaid, State Health Plan, TRICARE, all of these insurances that have a statutory right to reimbursement. If you have that insurance, I actually have to notify them. I don't have to wait for them to notify me. I have to notify them because they have a statutory right in the legislature to get a portion of any third-party liability payment. And then we can work with them. And we have a lien department that does nothing but this for us all day. So, I don't know.
It gets very confusing.
It
for
is.
people, because they're like, why would I use my health insurance? It's not my fault, but it ends up helping you in the long run, and that's what I tell people. Like, just trust your attorney. That's why you called us, and if you can get them to file, some of the hospitals will even tell our clients, this is an automobile accident, we can't file until the third party has paid. Well, you got to understand, with your third party is, like I said earlier, you only get one check. Mm-hmm. And that is usually, it can happen a year later. It depends on the case and that kind of thing. So you've got, these bills that you're not getting paid until a long time, because people don't understand that they can't bill the liability insurance, which they think they can. I've had clients say, can I just send this bill to the insurance adjuster? No, we pay the medical bills out of the one-time settlement once the case settles. So it just takes a while for that to happen.
And that's why the MedPay is great for people who don't have, we can pay anything that might go into collections. One of the horrible things that happens is the hospital knows that people have MedPay, and they will request the MedPay. They will refuse to file your insurance and have a huge, like, $30,000 bill. And instead of it being whatever the adjusted amount would be, where, if it's Medicare or Medicaid, that $30,000 bill is probably $300 for them. So rather than do that, they will file to get your MedPay, get that $10,000, and still have you demand that you owe them $20,000. It's horrific what's going on. And it's just really, that's why we have to be able to get your MedPay right away. It's always important for, as soon as you're in a crash, if you're going to get an attorney, you need to get one right away. Always reach out to us, 910-888-8888. Don't hesitate. Call the 8s. See if your case is something that we would take. If you've been injured in any way, please contact us and talk to one of us, our wonderful intake staff. Most of the time, they'll be able to get one of us attorneys on the phone right then. We have great staff like Kathy who'll be able to explain a lot of the liability issues to you to make sure that you have a valid claim. There is another flip side to that, though, Kathy. I have found that some medical providers are unable to file clients' insurance because the insurance companies are refusing to pay when there's a third-party liability. Like, we're just getting it These poor
All
places
over.
are,
Right.
we're just getting it from every direction. And, and then these adjusters,
Exactly.
these insurance adjusters are talking to me. They're like, well, why didn't they file the insurance? I'm like, because they have a right not to, and there's nothing I can do about it. There's absolutely nothing I could do about it. You need to talk to those hospitals. A lot of other states have done this reasonable and customary costs, and that's not our tort reform. I actually fight with these adjusters all the time. Our tort reform was back in 2011, and it was where Rule 414 came out. So years ago, we used to be able to, whatever that bill was, that $30,000 bill, I would be able to put it in there. But when your insurance pays, so if you have Medicare and it only pays $300 and they wrote off $29,700, all I'm allowed to show a jury is the $300. Right? So this is where attorneys then turned around and were like, we told the clients not to file their insurance, and so we could show all the money, and then we could work out something later with the providers. But you can't do that anymore because now they file failure to mitigate, and the insurance and the hospitals have are trying to recoup as much as they can. So they're, in lieu of filing and getting that $300, they're running the risk and trying to see if they could get all of the money, depending on how big an insurance policy is. You never know. Is that person that, was injured that came into the hospital, does the defendant have $1 million policy and they're going to pay everything no matter what? No, they're just running that risk. For some reason, they have decided that it is financially smart for them to run the risk of not filing your insurance and getting that guaranteed money, to risk it all to see if they can get way more. And it's horrible. And then the insurance companies are doing the same thing. They're like, well, medical providers have been burned where they have provided services, filed the claims, been paid on those claims, and then turn around and the insurance company finds out that because under ERISA, where they're not reimbursed for those costs, they'll actually go after, withhold funds from that medical provider. So this medical provider that bills Blue Cross Blue Shield, let's say, they turn around and say, well, we didn't get reimbursed for the funds that we paid out because it's a choice in North Carolina most of the times with ERISA types insurance. And then they'll withhold funds from that medical provider. So now this medical provider is not getting paid for their services. So these medical providers they will treat you, but they'll do it on a lien basis and refuse to file your insurance. Which is fine, right? So it's building up, it's given a lot more value under Rule 414, but these adjusters of the insurance companies are like, well, why aren't they doing that? And all I can tell them is because they have a right to do that, unfortunately, under the law. If you have a problem with it, you need to contact the legislature. I mean, some defense attorneys have even taken the chief financial operating officer's depositions at trial. Like, why did you fail to file this person's insurance? Trying to get the reasonable amount, because it wasn't our client's failure to mitigate. It was the hospital's failure to file, that we've tried to file, and they've refused.
It gets very messy. It gets very messy, and it's a case-by-case nightmare that we have to deal with, because sometimes the insurance does slip through, and they file it, which is a good thing. But
you never know.
We have to figure it out, and Diana does an excellent job at weeding through that. So you're in great hands.
Well, and sometimes the hospitals will run the risk that they're being more cautious about it, and they will wait till right before the timely filing runs. So most insurance policies have either 6 months or 1 year to file a claim from the date of service. So if you've only had, a few months of treatment and you have Medicaid or Medicare and they're refusing to file because they want to see if they're going to get paid in that year, we don't want to wait another 8 months to see if they're going to file your insurance. I've tried to file the insurance. The hospitals literally hide the ball. There's certain codes that we have to use in order to file with the insurance. We've reached out to the actual insurance, auto insurance companies, to see what's been sent to them from the medical providers to see if the codes are there. We've tried to file. I mean, it's just crazy. And even the arbitration, that clause that I told you that's within the consent form, it's just awful. So it really is hard to navigate. if you have any type of lien, this is why I always suggest people get an attorney for personal injury. Like if you have any substantial claim, I mean, there's just no way. I had a client once who called, it was a DUI hit, $30,000 policy, and he was like, do I even need you? And I was like, well, they should give you all the money. I said, and that first thing I asked is, what type of insurance do you have? Where did you treat? And he treated with the VA, and he had TRICARE. And I was like, so I do think you need me, because the auto insurance company is just going to pay whatever the bill is. I can fight and try and get it reduced, get it down to at least maybe a third. Sometimes they'll do that, which is what the statute, because they can take all of the money. That's a government entity. And he'll have no protection against that. You would have no protection. The auto insurance, defendant's auto insurance, does not care about you. If they get a bill from one of these people, they're just going to pay it. They're not going to try to negotiate for you. They're not going to try to see what the statutory payment would be. Not every single one is automatic, right? Even Medicare, they have to pay what's called procurement costs. But for me filing suit, or but for me going after the defendant's insurance, is the only reason that they were able to get any type of reimbursement. And therefore, they have to pay 1/2 of the attorney's fee and 1/2 of the cost, which would have all fallen on the client. And that's an attorney that's representing you zealously and properly to make sure that you get as much money as possible in your pocket. That is our goal. Our goal is that we get as much money as possible.
And that's what Diana does. She goes over the case when it's settled with a fine-tooth comb, and I'll just brag on her. She's a very good negotiator. She's a very good fighter. What makes her have her strength is she did a lot of litigation before, and so she understands and knows what a jury will look at in each case, and she kind of can analyze it from what the successes she has had in her litigation when she tries her cases. And in the pre-lit, which is what I help her with, that's the only thing I do. I don't help her with her litigation. She's able to analyze the cases and say, okay, in the past, this jury, her experience has helped with the pre-lit, and in her responses to these adjusters when she's negotiating a case, I just clap. She does a phenomenal job.
I'm very aggressive.
I love it. She's aggressive. I love it. I'm like, yeah, you go, girl. So,
I push them. My job is to get as much as possible. So I push and push and push until they say, no, this is as much as that you're going to give me. And then sometimes I'll just sit on it. I'll be like, okay, that's all you're going to give me? And I'll wait and see if a new adjuster will get put on the case. And this is why negotiation sometimes takes a long time, because my goal, again, is to make as much money as possible, to get as high a value as possible for this case. So Kathy, in the front end, make sure that you're getting your treatment, that there's no gaps, trying to make sure the case is exactly how it's supposed to be taken care of. If you have a headache or a blurry vision, to make sure that you get to a neurologist, to make sure there's no gaps in treatment, to make sure you talk to your medical provider about all of your injuries, right? That helps me on the back end, and I teach her all those things, and she already knows because she's been doing this so long. So I trust her. She reviews the cases. She brings any red flags to me, any good flags, and anytime there's a great case, she knows how to take care of it. And my job is to push the adjuster as long as possible. I'll threaten litigation. I'll send them a copy of a complaint that I never plan on filing. But you never know. It might get a few $100 more.
I just can't explain. If I need an attorney, I will go to, and I'm not just saying this because she's my boss. I see it. She does fantastic.
Well, now let me get to do our little intro again. So, again, you're listening to Making the Law Work for the People at WIDU, sponsored by Brent, Adams & Associates. And my name is Diana Devine. I'm one of the, I say litigation attorney, but now we do everything, personal injury attorneys with Brent, Adams & Associates. Mr. Adams has practiced law for over 50 years, and together we should have almost about 200 years of experience between myself, Attorney Chris Wanker, Attorney Amy Wabike, Attorney Emily Hickman. Those are all the personal injury attorneys. And then we have Sheila Chavis, who's our workers' compensation specialist and one of the partners here, as well as Vance Jennings, who's one of the partners and our Social Security disability specialist. We are a law firm that is here to help you with various legal issues you may encounter, from workers' compensation to injuries for disability, claims, and various other situations. I hope you give us a call for us to be able to assist you. We can be reached at 910-888-8888, and we handle cases all over the state of North Carolina. We have offices in Dunn, that's where our patriarch is, Mr. Adams, and in Fayetteville, that's where Emily Hickman is. In Raleigh, that's where most of the rest of us are. And then in Southern Pines, and we even have an office out in Clinton, North Carolina. So we have 5 offices all over the state of North Carolina. We take cases. I've tried cases all the way out in the mountains, all the way down to South Carolina, all the way out to the beach. It doesn't matter where in North Carolina. As long as it's in North Carolina, I can take your case. So our motto is don't hesitate. Call the 910-888-8888. And today we're making the law work for you by being a valued listener, sponsored by Brent Adams and Associates. We can give you one of the books. Mr. Adams has written many books. Amongst them is 10 Costly Mistakes That Can Wreck Your North Carolina Case. And that's our vehicle personal injury book. We have another one, How to Get Top Dollar for Your Workers' Compensation Claim. And his newest book is The Truth About Medical Malpractice Claims, very difficult medical malpractices. These books are available for purchase on Amazon.com, but as a loyal listener to WIDU, you can call our office and get a free copy sent to you in the mail. So reach out to us at 910-888-8888, and we will follow up with a free copy of Mr. Adams' books in the mail to you. Feel free to visit us at www.brentadams.com or on Facebook. Our expert team of intake specialists is happy to hear from you. So once again, the number is 910-888-8888. We make things right. And our intake staff is great. They'll be able to talk you through a lot of things. They are also able to get one of us on the phone. So I always tell people, just if you've ever been injured in any way, call us. Let's see if you got a case. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.